This is my 2005 4Runner Limited, and I've been recently thinking about buying a new car, but that's a lot of money, so I thought, what is it that I want in a new car? This one's a pretty nice car. It's got few miles on it, and I realized that there were just a few upgrades that I'd like to do to keep me from spending $25,000 or $30,000 on a new car. I could spend $1,000 on this one and make it more fun.
I wanted a dash cam because recently we almost had an accident, and this would have been very helpful showing what exactly happened. And secondly, just for fun. This one was highly rated a few months ago when I did this, and it still is highly rated, although there's an A119S with a Sony sensor. If I were to buy today, I would buy that one instead of this one.
Didn't know much about them, never had one, so I researched and picked this one. One of the reasons that this one was particularly interesting to me is it's small and it has capacitors in it instead of a battery. We live in a place where it gets very hot in the summertime, over 100 degrees for a couple weeks at a time. And having a lithium battery that gets that hot is kind of dangerous, so that was a big advantage of this unit. I've mounted it here behind the rear view mirror. The only time we should really need to do anything with this is if there's a reason. Push this button right here, which will lock in the video file that's currently being taken, so that file won't be overwritten. This is a really nice unit. There's a GPS module behind it. It's easy to slip on and off. It should absolutely take care of itself. Turn the car on, it turns on, etc. It doesn't have a parking mode like some video cameras have. You'd have to go in and manually tell it to observe things while the car is parked.
This Vico-Power Plus unit controls the 12 volts going to the dash cam. If the car is left for several days with a dash cam operating, it could drain the battery, and if the car overheats because it's left in the hot California sun and it's 160 degrees, this Vico-Power Plus monitors both the temperature and the battery voltage and will cut off the 12 volts to the dash cam should either of those events occur. And there's quite a bit of user control over time function, over the voltage, and over the temperature. So I felt it was really necessary to install one of these. There is an on-off switch on the side, so you can just defeat it and it will supply 12 volts to the dash cam. Here it is installed where the driver can get to it easily. Next, I wanted a backup camera. I found this one on Amazon, but it was ordered from China. It took about a month to arrive, but it's the right one. It fits right into the 4Runner. It's got the camera and one of the license plate lights in it, so it's perfect. It fits right in, it bolts in easily. Even the gasket, the old gasket, fits this new one. I also wanted a separate hitch camera, a camera pointing down so I could see the ball on my back of my car when hooking it up to the boat trailer. So I had chosen the first camera as the backup camera, and then I chose this one, which is a license plate frame camera, to be used for the hitch because it has a rotating feature. It can be rotated down to point at the hitch. I ended up swapping them and using this one for the reverse and the smaller one for the hitch camera, because the one that bolts right into the 4Runner, the hitch, it's tilted down so low that it actually makes a perfect hitch camera. Having selected two backup cameras, I now needed a way to display the images from those two cameras. I could have gone with a new head unit for the car, which might actually have been a better choice, which I'll explain later, but I really liked this approach, which is an automatic rearview mirror with an LCD display built in. By automatic rear view, I mean that it self-dims the mirror when there's bright car headlights behind. My current 4Runner had that. I wanted that to be also in this new mirror. Took a little while to find it, but they're out there. and it has a little bit bigger than 4-inch LCD display built in. Next, I needed a way to select between the backup camera and the hitch camera to display on the LCD. How you do that varies depending on the hardware that you buy, but with this particular set of hardware, I was just controlling the 12 volts for the two cameras. So whichever camera was on, they both go into the same input on the mirror, and you get to see either one or neither by putting the switch in the middle position. This switch was custom made for me by the Flip company in Southern California, which was very handy. They did a great job. They completely took my specifications over the phone. I wanted the switch to read backup camera and hitch camera and put a little camera image in the middle. It's got two different colors for the switch positions and off color for the neutral position. It's just perfect and it works great. Now I have to switch it manually, whereas most rear view cameras switch on and off with the shift lever, but I want to be able to back up to my boat using the backup camera, and sometimes that involves going forward and back and forward and back, and I didn't want the camera to be switching on and off. The next thing is, where's this switch going to go? Well, in the 4Runner there's this row of switches and a couple of blanks that this switch is meant to go directly into, and I also want to add two USB ports, which I'll talk about next. There are a number of available items that can be plugged into these Toyota blanks, and I wanted to add a couple of extra USB ports for various people in the car in case I want to plug in their tablet or computer or whatever. So it's added two of these right in the console in that second blank spot. And here's what they look like after installation.
Another thing I want to do is I want to have Bluetooth connectivity in this 4Runner, which it doesn't have, and it doesn't even have a 3.5mm audio jack. So I've actually been using one of those little cassette adapters that plugs into the cassette radio. Makes a lot of noise. It goes ch-ch-ch-ch, and it works, but it's another plug that I have to plug into my phone to use it. This Bluetooth interface plugs into the CD changer socket right on the back of the radio. Unfortunately, it means you have to take the whole radio, the whole console apart to take the radio out to plug this in. And this has a USB jack on the side, so you can plug in like a memory stick, a thumb drive with music on it, or you can connect up with a 3.5mm jack to something, but it's Bluetooth by itself.
This Bluetooth interface works quite well. The only problem with it was the installation, but once in place, it's easy to use and it works great. Here it is installed in the car, and I usually use a USB cable plugged into that USB on the interface to charge my phone. Very handy. There were a number of wires that I wanted to clean up or hide. One of the things I want to do is get rid of this wire.
I'm going to run a power cord up here so it doesn't run down. I'm going to get rid of this, and I'm going to get rid of this, and I'm going to get rid of this. So clean up all these wires and make my car more pleasant to drive. We use dash mounted GPS Garmin units in our family, and we'll continue to do that. I don't like the built-in units for the head unit because they have expensive map upgrades, whereas these are free for life. They're handy, they can be moved around. You don't have the restriction of having to park the car to change something. You can do it from here. And one of our cars actually has voice commands, so you can actually change things while you're driving.
Another thing that needs to be cleaned up is the fuse box. Someone had shoved wires in next to fuses. That needs to be improved. And here is the simple and cheap solution found on Amazon for tapping into the fuse box to add options.
That is a much neater connection. There's a fuse for the original equipment that was plugged into a given socket, and a separate fuse for the new options that are attached through those red cables. Very clean and neat.
So that's the list of things I wanted to do. Add a dash camera, backup camera, hitch camera, a display for the cameras, and a select switch for the cameras, a USB charge ports, a Bluetooth for my smartphone, and to clean up the wiring. I first ordered everything and waited till all of it came in before I started the project. To tell you the truth, installing the cameras, the switches, and everything else was really the easy part. Running the wires is what took all the time and energy. I spent hours doing it. I won't bore you with all of the details, and I'm not going to go into all the videos and stills that I have of installing the wires, just a little bit of it. Once I had everything in hand, I assembled the two cameras and the mirror on the bench with a 12-volt battery just to make sure it would all work before I started this whole installation. All of this installation requires quite a lot of tearing apart of the car, and I bought these cheap but useful tools online so that I could use them to pry open the panels of the car with no damage or minimal damage. So to begin with, I'm going to remove this panel to gain access to remove this so that I can install the new camera and light in this position here. I'm not going to go into the details of removing this panel. I suggest going to, if you have a 4Runner in this age, go to YouTube and to camera-source.com. They have a pretty decent video there on installing a similar camera. Well, one camera is installed. I have yet to run the wires, but it's nice and hidden. It looks pretty good. Next comes the license plate camera. My 6-year-old son just installed this license plate bracket with the camera in it. We're now going to remove this panel so I can run the cable. And one thing that I discovered, hadn't thought about, is there's a button under here to open the door, and this impedes a little bit on the access to that button. So I can reach it, it's going to be okay. I just hadn't even considered that. Probably the most difficult part of this job was snaking these wires through. They come from the cameras here, they run along here, and we're inside the tailgate, and in here, and they had to go down this channel and come out over here. I started by using a piece of coat hanger to run it up inside that hole, and it took me about a half hour to get it fished out, but I finally got the 2 video wires and the 2 power wires to come through. Now I've got to snake them through here and down, and I've got to start taking the car apart inside. I'm watching this video from camerasource.com so I can follow their instructions. They have very good instructions. Well, I've managed to get the wires through the back of the car, and now run them up through the side of the car under this kick panel right here, this foot panel. I have removed the old mirror, put the new one in its place, and I'm beginning to run wires up through the ceiling and over down through the post here, where they will meet up with the wires from the back. Here's the kick panel where I'm going to join the wires from the mirror with the video cables from the rear of the car. Most of these panels just pop off. That's what I use those little plastic tools for. And I was quite surprised to find the large number of wires and things behind this panel. And of course, you work on it, you add some more to it, you shove it in there, and you put the cover back on, and it looks pretty good. You might ask, why did I do this myself rather than paying a shop to do it? Well, there was one consideration, which was the money. I figured they'd charge me $200 or $300 to do this installation, me buying the hardware. And secondly, I wasn't too sure that I would get what I wanted if I had somebody else do it, because I could make decisions along the way doing it myself. That, coupled with the fact that there's such good information online and YouTube videos, gave me the confidence to just go ahead and do this myself.
Camera, or for backup camera, and bright lights probably annoying enough for nighttime to cause me to want to turn this off. This blue light here might become an irritation. I may have to go in and disable that, but we'll try it for a while. Also, the
Now for the problem. As you can see in this snapshot from the video I just showed, there are reflections on the mirror. Guess what? Mirrors are designed to reflect. So when you've got the LCD on, you can see out the windows, as you can see in this picture. And
so here's the finished product.
See the LCD display. I actually put
switches
my hand up sometimes to block
and
the view
USB
coming in
ports,
from the back window on the mirror. This is one big downside.
Bluetooth adapter.
Instead of using the new head unit,
no cords coming out of the radio.
Down low and it wouldn't be safe.
Shortened cord coming off the GPS.
So it works.
The cord for the power for the dash cam now routes through the ceiling.
As it is.
The mirror shows the backup camera and the hitch camera. There's a remote control for the Bluetooth mounted here that allows you to switch between tracks and to answer a phone. And there's a microphone mounted on the top of the steering column for the use with the hands-free phone.
Here's a couple of drawings showing the hookups for the various things that I put into the car. I'll also put notes in the YouTube below telling each of the items that I purchased.